A USDA report titled A Life Cycle Analysis of Greenhouse Gas Emissions of Corn-Based Ethanol states that greenhouse gas emissions associated with the production of corn-based ethanol in the United States are about 43% lower than gasoline. Corn ethanol and gasoline blends can also reduce tailpipe emissions of significant pollutants. To learn more about how ethanol can reduce both greenhouse gas and tailpipe emissions in the U.S. and other foreign countries, we met with Dr. Steffen Mueller, Principal Economist of the University of Illinois at Chicago, and began by asking him about the environmental benefits of ethanol.
The environmental benefits, focusing on the environmental benefits, the two major groups. One is the greenhouse gas emissions that we assess with models called life cycle assessments. And the second benefit is tailpipe pollutant reductions. So tailpipe pollutant reductions are particularly important for high polluted areas, lots of vehicle traffic, lots of gasoline combustion. So ethanol as a mix into the gasoline blend can reduce the emissions from the tailpipes.
According to Steffen, there are air emissions released from ethanol. However, they are all due to the manufacturing process, including the amount of fuel that is consumed by a tractor to grow corn and the amount of energy needed at a corn ethanol plant. These air emissions components are included in the life cycle analysis of ethanol and derive the final CO2 emissions from all of the individual recorded subcomponents. Although ethanol does contain these air emissions, it is still a safer option for the environment.
Biofuels have a large advantage over gasoline from a greenhouse gas emissions perspective, because as the corn grows, it absorbs carbon, and when you combust it in an engine, it re-releases that carbon in the atmosphere. So that's what's called a carbon neutral process, right? Absorption of the carbon from the atmosphere during plant growth, re-released during combustion, carbon neutral process. Because the carbon in the fuel from a biofuels is carbon neutral, we have a significant advantage over gasoline, right? So in gasoline, the carbon in the fuel is a fossil-derived carbon, and then it's a net addition to the atmosphere, right? It has never been absorbed or re-released. I mean, it's been absorbed like millions of years ago, and it's now re-released, but it constitutes a net addition. Also, like the refinery emissions and the emissions from extracting the crude oil are also added into a gasoline's life cycle analysis, right? If we add it all up and we add the fossil carbon to it, the greenhouse gas emissions associated with fossil fuels, with gasoline, are significantly higher than those of currently produced modern biofuels such as ethanol.
To continue research on tailpipe and greenhouse gas emissions, Steffen was able to participate and present data at U.S. Greens Council organized workshops in Japan, India, Mexico, Korea, and Colombia. According to Steffen, his 5-city study concluded that international markets have the opportunity to extremely benefit from U.S.-produced corn ethanol by blending either 10 or 20% ethanol in their fuel supply. Corn ethanol's greenhouse gas reductions allows international markets to comply with Paris climate agreements, and its tailpipe emissions reductions help global polluted cities to clean up air emissions. For the U.S., Steffen says the Clean Air Act has shown great success with the help of 10% ethanol.
In the United States, coming back to your question, we've seen ethanol being part of the success stories in cleaning up our air emissions. As we look to foreign cities, then we can recommend to those cities that they learn from our experience, and we can provide them with the data to show them what we've done in the US, and then we can do some specific modeling for these cities, for these areas, to show them just how effective a program would be, right? Based on those cities' vehicle population, based on the country's refinery makeup, oil refinery makeup, and so that's part of that study.